Ooh, this is a nice color on this one. I'm not dead. I am alive. I've been spending all of my time finishing this damn thing so I can present to the undergraduate research fair, which I did, and it went well. I was the only one in green, because everybody decided to use school colors. But, yeah, fuck them. It'll be fine. Got lovely green here, and I have no idea which soundbite is loaded into this thing because it does, in fact, take soundbites now and rips them to pieces and generates all the world stuff on that, so let's hit start and see what happens. What's it taking? Ah, yes. It's the ambient sound one. Gives me a very purple world. The color distribution is much less vibrant because the audio analysis algorithm is fairly lowbrow. It basically just chops it up into 36 segments and takes the RMS value of that, and abusing RMS, I'm getting the mood out of the value, because a sine wave will give you about a 0.58 for RMS for a maximum value, and was it triangle and or sawtooth waves give you about a 0.7. So I've tuned my ranges for like smooth mood like this one or the other moods to those, and then for the colors it's literally just picking samples out of it. Yeah, it draws it in as a unsigned 8-bit integer raw. Yeah, it's raw. I was originally using WAV files and just eating the header as data because, yeah, screw it, it works, but it pulls it in as 8-bit data because Unreal Engine's built-in C++ stuff is buns. So yeah, I added a run button, and run goes very, very, very fast. And that's how I can navigate these worlds, just for the presentation, because I'm demoing this to people on a giant projector at, like 768 by 480, 4 by 3. Yeah. The projector needs to be unbunged. It was really bad. Boop. But yeah, you can drop in different sound bites and load it real time. If you can see, I'll just Alt-Tab out of here and go down to the C drive, which is here, and grab this one. Yeah, I put them in C drive because it takes a absolute file path, so it's the easiest one to find, but I didn't feel like trying to figure out where everything is. So I have no idea what that one is. But if I restart the level, it'll send us to, possibly hell. That last one was just sort of like an ambient... Ah, yes, this is hell. Yeah, everybody, welcome to hell. It's on fire. We got ashes. Speed up time. This soundbite is a sawtooth wave at maximum volume. It's just obnoxious. I hates it. But it did create this because the volume chooses the pieces. It was also ludicrously short, so this is only a 3x3 chunk world. So it's itty bitty. We got the lake. It's loud, so it chose mountains instead of the plains. See, that'll catch me. It looks a lot like Mars. I'm just gonna go full Total Recall on this thing. And see if we can, like, you know, blah, everywhere. You can outrun the particles, because the particle effect is actually attached to the player. It's very large, but not as large as the entire map. And it is it toggleable? No, I actually turned that off. Wow. I think G still works. Yeah, let's technical. Ooh, that is red. Oh yeah, this is like the mind of Soviet Russia right here. Red and gray. Yeah, Putin's gonna be under my bed whenever I go to bed. But it'll be fine. Yeah, so these worlds are just dead stuff and things, and I haven't implemented any NPCs, so nothing comes and chases you down and claps your ass, but yeah, it's spooky. Let's play with the other one. Is it this one, or... Oh, yes, it is this. And unlike the presentation, this one actually ate the sound file. So that was interesting. I ran this on 2 different machines. I actually lugged a desktop in a box, the one that was from the War Thunder video, all the way across campus and plugged it into a VGA port. Because, thank God, its motherboard is old enough to have one of those. Oh, what? This was the other one? Well, isn't that unfortunate? This will give us an opportunity to show how it works. By, grabbing something from my music. I have no idea what this one is. It's probably Steve Carell saying no backwards. We'll find out. Ugh. You gotta love them technical difficulties, but this just shows like kind of how you have to do things. It's not refined at all in any sense of the word, but by the time you're done with it, it'll work just fine. I fixed it! Turns out that was a soundbite of entirely silence, which broke the game for some reason, and it didn't want to load anything. It might have been like 30-second long silence, which would have made an incredibly large world because the entire thing is set to about my frame rate suck. Yeah. The thing is set to have 6 seconds be 6 seconds is 6 chunks wide. So that's as far as I really wanted it to go because that's like 36 square kilometers, and well, loading all of Skyrim at once with I mean, this is pretty optimized, but yikes, that's yeah, let's make the whole thing massive and that'll be fine. So where was I? Oh yeah, I'm talking about graphics and things. I got a like light rays on. It turns out that the issue with those not working was I didn't turn the sun on with light rays. It was a checkbox, a single checkbox. That's all it takes to make something like not awesome. It's still really chattery. Let's see how chattery. 49. What the fuck? What's over here? What's with the Forester frame rate? This isn't Breath of the Wild. What happened? Yeah, I'm still kind of like seeding out things, and there's certain chunks that are acting up. And I think it's just like I've got an obnoxious amount of grass and leaves right here because this is the woods. So everybody's computer beware. Might need to check. I actually don't know. Like, I don't know a lot about optimization whenever it comes to stuff. Like, it looks great. And, like, it's pretty solid, but it's like, over here is dirt nasty. And I want to figure out why. And I'll figure it out eventually, because when I say eventually, I do want to continue working on this, but not in the form of Sonus Aetheria. I do plan on splitting that off into its original concept, which was a procedurally generated mesh for the landscape in the form of a planet, in which you'd go, create the original world using a soundbite, which this does use, like I said before. This is actually currently the Wilhelm scream put to a average volume, so it kind of surprising. It turned out really nice. They're still working with pastel-y colors, and nothing gets really dark unless I, hit G. Ooh. Well, it's not dark, but I like it. I'll keep it. But I want to have that one, the new Sonus, well, the original Sonus Aetheria concept back in, where you walk around and try to, like, find the parts to make a new world. And whenever you do that, you throw in a new soundbite off of your mic, and it appears in the sky, and you gotta figure out how to get there, and it's like a planetoid sci-fi fantasy-type adventure game, where you're just going along making a train of procedurally generated worlds. Kind of like No Man's Sky, but in your backyard, sort of? And you're not exploring a universe, you're making it as you go along. Very personal, very you. And all of this stuff, and this art style with the kind of chunky leaves and things that, yes, they move, by the way. It looks excellent. I spent a lot of time on that. And all the normals are screwed up, and it's been a minute since I've recorded the last segment, so I might have already said this. But if not, they move. And they're very nice, and I have to work on, the UVs for them, because some of the parts move that shouldn't move because the grass is, like, sideways on the texture. But that's all good. Something that'll help with the frame rate here is probably putting on a more aggressive LOD to the trees, because they still got a lot of polygons to them. Man, that's a big one. But this one, I'm turning into an action RPG that features these chunks as more of a, you know, like it's not designed to be completely new every time. It's just they're in different places, so like one of these chunks will have a little town on it, or one will have like a cave in it or something that you have to go to, and I'll make sure that associated stuff is with associated stuff. And the basic concept is that you're like this little town wizard dude who goes around, you know, like doing side quests and things and killing out monsters and raiding dungeons and things, but at nighttime, your whole point in life is being, you're called the, your job is you are a star catcher. And a shooting star will fall to the sky, and you gotta go and catch it and do the thing whenever it hits the ground. Oh, I've made a home. And I don't really want to divulge too much about the storyline that I've got written so far, however little there may be, because I kind of have the whole premise behind what's going on, and I want the players to kind of discover that. But the thing that everybody knows is the name of the game itself is called a Skykeeper, and that is like your deity. That's the thing that created the world, and that's what you're giving energy to keep the world in creation and alive. And that's why I'm using the Dead Worlds things from it, and the, like, thing with the spires is the world that's, like, all ethereal, like the Feywild or something. I don't know. I'll use those assets differently. I'll probably be remaking a lot of these things, although these are probably just going to be wildland chunks. I'll have, like, definite, you know, town chunk, this city chunk, and then between them will be, other stuff like this where you just kind of explore, and there'll be things to level up and do stuff with, and it'll just look really nice with the sun going down between the things and speed. Yeah, I did go in and fix the way that the sun sets and all the stuff is done, so the darkening of the sky and the sunlight and the fog and everything is all done via the position of the sun rather than with timers, because that was actually kind of a boneheaded thing in retrospect. So my blueprints are a lot cleaner, and it seems to be better on performance, and it doesn't do as many weird things. But back to the premise of Skykeeper, you're supposed to, like, you know, it's not really sacrifices. The thing is, like, a NPC, an object, something that you can interact with. I want to make the obelisks that appear in this world, you know, something that you can do with that, like checkpoints, just something there. I'm still writing a lot of this out, but that's basically what I'm turning it into, is just, you know, a nice, fun action RPG with some interesting twist and flair to it. I want to do something with maybe like a little bit of character creation and character upgrading. Ah, here's one. It's the same one I found from the last video. Boom. Which I did fix the edges around these things by setting this thing to not blur the textures. A little bit pixely, but it looks a lot nicer in my opinion. Very nice. But yeah, so in order to do the other stuff, I'm going to have to teach myself how to model, you know, better characters for video games that don't have a billion polygons to them. Then I'm going to have to figure out, you know, how to make variable meshes, because I'm planning on having a lot of NPCs, and I don't want to make all of them by hand, because that would take, well, absolutely forever, and instance objects are more efficient. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on efficiency because I'm dropping frames in the forest here, and I don't want to have a, you know, Zelda frame rate forest deal, but sometimes you gotta. I mean, look at modern games anyways. Like, you can't run hardly anything at full graphics with, you know, unless you have, like, GTX 1080 SLI bullshit, and just like, I'm just running a normal 1070. Which I'm currently looking at, you know, Unreal 4.22, and torturing that with some little bit of path tracing, which may or may not run on GTX hardware, but that's part of the open, well, yeah, it's part of DirectX now. I mean, hell, they got it running on Minecraft, so if we can do it on Minecraft, we can do it in this thing at 12 FPS. But that's beside the point, so I'll digress and just go back to the actual point of the video here. Lovely stars, lovely graphics, and an interesting storyline coming out of a new game.
Hey, you. You're finally awake.